Will the House please come to order and members kindly take their seats? Good morning. The devotional today will be led by Cameron Ainsworth, who is a pastor at the Rock of Greater Burlington Church.
Thank you. Father God, I ask your blessings and your mercies upon those legislators here assembled in Montpelier, in the capital of this beautiful and historic Green Mountain State. Let them be equipped with every good thing, sanctified and held upright, as they labor tirelessly to assist the people of Vermont. Let them serve and lead, even as your Son came to serve and to lead, with mercy, with justice, with compassion, and with resolve. Uplift them through all hardship, through all snares of dissension and difference, that they may be worthy of the mighty trust imparted upon them by the citizens of this state. Sanctify them, O Lord, and strengthen their hands as they go about fulfilling this sacred trust. For indeed it is a sacred trust. As you have declared in your holy word, there is no authority except from you, and all the authorities that exist are appointed by you. As you have also said, rulers are not a terror to good works, but to evil. May the people of Vermont be blessed by the holy work done here today. May they have cause to rejoice in their quality of life. Though Vermont is a small and sparsely populated state, may it be a mighty exemplar of justice, of peace, and of prosperity. We pray for those Vermonters still struggling with the repercussions of recent floods and other natural disasters. May they be comforted, may they be delivered from their pain and sorrow, and may they have justified confidence in this august body to lead, to guide, and to protect them. As your Son Jesus said, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God." May that truly be said of each one of us here today. In the name of the Father, of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen.
Members, please rise as Paige Schuyler Barnard of Montpelier leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Members, we have 6 House bills for introduction today. The first is House Bill 480, which is an act relating to miscellaneous amendments to education law, introduced by the Committee on Education. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
H 480, an act relating to miscellaneous amendments to education law.
Now the bill's been read the first time, and as a committee bill, it is placed on the calendar for notice on the next legislative day pursuant to House Rule 48. Next is House Bill 481, which is an act relating to stormwater management, introduced by the Committee on Environment. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
H 481, an act relating to stormwater management.
Now the bill's been read the first time and affecting the revenue of the state. It is referred to the Committee on Ways and Means pursuant to House Rule 35A. Next is House Bill 482, which is an act relating to the Green Mountain Care Board Authority to adjust a hospital's reimbursement rates and to appoint a hospital observer, introduced by the Committee on Health Care. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
H 482, an act relating to Green Mountain Care Board Authority to adjust the hospital's reimbursement rates and to appoint a hospital observer.
Now the bill's been read the first time, and as a committee bill, it is placed on the notice calendar for the next legislative day pursuant to House Rule 48. Next is House Bill 483, which is an act relating to the expansion of existing income tax credits, introduced by the Committee on Ways and Means. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
H 483, an act relating to the expansion of existing income tax credits.
Now the bill's been read the first time, and as a committee bill, it is placed on the calendar for notice on the next legislative day pursuant to House Rule 48. The next is House Bill 44, which is an act relating to miscellaneous agricultural subjects introduced by the Committee on Agriculture, Food Resiliency, and Forestry. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
H484, an act relating to miscellaneous agricultural subjects.
Now the bill has been read the first time and affecting the revenue of the state. It is referred to the Committee on Ways and Means pursuant to House Rule 35A. And finally, we have House Bill 485, which is an act relating to granting state employees in the executive branch and judiciary the right to strike, introduced by Representative Casey of Montpelier. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
H485, an act relating to granting state employees in the executive branch and judiciary the right to strike.
Now the bill has been read the first time and is referred to the Committee on General and Housing. Members, we have 3 Senate bills for referral this morning. The first is Senate Bill 28, which is an act relating to access to certain legally protected healthcare services, introduced by Senator Hardy and others. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
S28, an act relating to access to certain legally protected healthcare services.
Now the bill's been read the first time and is referred to the Committee on Healthcare. Next is Senate Bill 50, which is an act relating to increasing the size of solar net metering projects that qualify for expedited registration, introduced by Senator Watson and others. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
S50, an act relating to increasing the size of solar net metering projects that qualify for expedited registration.
Now the bill's been read the first time and is referred to the Committee on Energy and Digital Infrastructure. And finally, Senate Bill 69 is an act relating to age-appropriate design code, introduced by Senator Harrison and others. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
S69, an act relating to an age-appropriate design code.
Now the bill's been read the first time and is referred to the Committee on Commerce and Economic Development. Members, we also have 6 bills on the notice calendar that require referral to a money committee pursuant to House Rule 35A. And we'll start with the ones affecting the revenue of the state and therefore referred to the Committee on Ways and Means. They are House Bill 237, which is an act relating to establishing the Vermonters Feeding Vermonters grant at the Agency of Agriculture, Food, and Markets. The second is House Bill 319, which is an act relating to miscellaneous environmental subjects. Third, House Bill 397, which is an act relating to miscellaneous amendments to the statutes governing emergency management and flood response. And finally, House Bill 401, which is an act relating to exemptions for food manufacturing establishments. Finally, these next 2 bills carry an appropriation and therefore refer to the Committee on Appropriations. They are House Bill 167, which is an act relating to establishing the Vermonters Feeding Vermonters grant at the Agency of Agriculture, Food, and Markets, and House Bill 321, which is an act relating to miscellaneous cannabis amendments. Members, we have a joint House resolution to take up at this time. JRS 3 is a joint resolution authorizing the Green Mountain Boys State and Green Mountain Girls State educational programs to use the State House facilities on June 26, 2025, offered by Representatives Marcotte of Coventry and Boslin of Westminster. Please listen to the reading of the resolution by title only.
JRH 3, joint resolution authorizing the Green Mountain Boys State and Green Mountain Girls State educational programs to use the State House facilities on June 26, 2025.
Now the resolution has been read and is placed on the calendar for action on the next legislative day pursuant to House Rule 52. Are there any announcements? Member from Linden.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Visiting us today are members of the Gerard family. My brother-in-law, Dennis, he is a Navy veteran and retired Vermont State Trooper. And coming to our brave little state from the great state of Texas, Dennis's brother, Nicholas, a Marine Corps veteran, Nick's wife, Kim, and their children, Miles and Brianna. Miles and Brianna are both members of the Junior ROTC. Miles was recently promoted to JROTC Company Commander. Miles intends to attend a military academy upon graduation. While in Vermont, they toured Norwich University. They are seated in the balcony above me. Please join me in welcoming them to the People's House.
Will the guest of the member from Linden please rise and be recognized? Member from Ferrisburg.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I ask that you would please welcome this morning to the Vermont State House Chamber a special high school class. Teacher Katie Brodfjord and her American Government class is here today from Trinity Baptist School in Williston, and they are in our balcony today. Trinity Baptist School is a pre-K through 12 school celebrating its 50th year of operation this year, and is part of a critical network of over 100 approved independent schools throughout Vermont that serve over 8,000 Vermont students. Miss B, as she is affectionately called by her students, has served as a teacher there at Trinity for 16 years. I personally taught high school math there for the past couple of years, and I coached soccer there. My 3 older kids all graduated from Trinity, and my youngest daughter, Abigail, is in the balcony today with her classmates. Please help me welcome to the chamber the American Government class from Trinity Baptist School in Williston.
Will the guest of the member from Ferrisburg please rise and be recognized? Member from Bristol.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to welcome to the House my constituent and former representative who's sitting in the Senate seats.
Will the former member please rise and be recognized? Are there any further announcements? Member from Cambridge.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Rural Caucus will be meeting tomorrow morning from 8 to 8:45 in room 10 and on Zoom. We'll be having a discussion on the education proposal through a rural lens and hearing from the federally qualified health centers. All are welcome.
Member from Milton.
Madam Speaker, I would like to welcome my dear friends Denise and Tom Hughes that came to the Capitol to visit me today from Milton. They are very active in my hometown. They have worked many elections, served as JPs, and we all know as public officials, sometimes we're asked to do crazy things. Well, as a civil board member, they got to walk through a swamp in the heat of summer because a resident wanted to lower his taxes. I am proud to call them my friends. Please help me to welcome my friends Denise and Tom to the People's House today.
Will the guest and member from Milton please rise and be recognized? Another member from Milton.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to Cameron Ainsworth for his inspiring words during today's devotional. Cameron is a Georgia resident, holds a master's degree in law and public policy from Regent University. When he's not ministering the word of God to us on Sunday mornings, he dedicates his weekdays to serving the people of our state through his work at the Department of Economic Development. His commitment to both faith and public service is truly commendable, and I appreciate his presence with us today.
Will the guest of the member from Milton please rise and be recognized? Member from Wolcott.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Older Vermonters Caucus will meet tomorrow at noon in room 10. We will be joined by Commissioner Bowen from Dale and Deputy Commissioner from the Department of Health. Pizza will be served. Thank you.
Are there any further announcements? Member from Newport City.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The member from Chittenden County could not be present. He and his colleagues are working very hard in appropriations. So I have been asked by the member to inform the body with information related to the March Madness competition. And Madam Speaker, you may remember that I was asked last year to accomplish that task, and I guess I did such a great job that I've been asked to do it again. I had considered adding my thoughts to the conversation, but after careful consideration, I think that the words of the member from Chittenden require no further explanation. So, Madam Speaker, with your permission, may I read the member from Chittenden's thoughts and information for the body?
You may.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, and these are the words of the member from Chittenden. They're not mine, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it's come to my attention that members of the House Human Services Committee, I'm sorry, Chair, but the House Human Services Committee were recently boasting about their top committee finish in last year's March Madness men's competition. Well, this chamber should be aware that House Appropriations has acquired some new talent since last session and aims to retake its rightful place and win this year's committee part of the tournament. And now for the information you're really looking forward to. Your pool selections need to be entered online by Thursday morning for the men's tournament and Friday morning for the women's. Each pool is just $5. For questions or payment, you can reach out to any of our team captains, Connor, Molly from the Speaker's office, Teresa in the Clerk's office, Ashley in the Pro Tem's office, or James from the Lieutenant Governor's office. Or you may catch up with Commissioner Harrison, Deputy Commissioner Waters-Evans, and Women's Commissioner Bartley. Enjoy the spirited and friendly competition. That is, as long as House Appropriations is doing well. And Madam Speaker, thank you for indulging me and the member from Chittenden.
Are there any further announcements? Member from Winooski.
Madam Speaker, today we are joined by Liz Couto, who is part of the Vermont Nurse and Nurse Practitioner Coalition. Liz has been a nurse in the emergency department for 16 years. That includes during the COVID pandemic. She is a nurse leader that's working to ensure that we can all receive safe and quality health care at hospitals should we need it. Can you please help me welcome her to the People's House?
Will the guest of the member from Winooski please rise and be recognized? Are there any further announcements? Seeing none, orders of the day. Members, we will begin with House Bill 137, which is an act relating to the regulation of insurance products and services. Please listen to the third reading of the bill.
H 137, an act relating to the regulation of insurance products and services.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Member from Bethel.
Madam Speaker, at the second reading, the member from Calais had a question, about a technical question about Section 7, which pertains to 8 VSA 6006. His question was around whether or not there was an additional word in the passages. And so after the meeting, after the floor, I consulted with legislative counsel, and we were assured that it is indeed in correct form. If it's section I, and if read as a whole, it actually makes sense. Captive insurance companies formed under the provisions of this chapter, 1, as limited liability companies shall have these privileges. 2, as nonprofit corporations shall have these privileges. And 3, as mutual insurers shall have these privileges. So it makes sense in the whole context. If you just read the one section, though, it does seem grammatically incorrect. But I've been assured that no technical corrections are required, and I just wanted to make that clear. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. No. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have passed the bill. Up next is House Bill 266, which is an act relating to protections for 340B covered entities and 340B contract pharmacies. Please listen to the third reading of the bill.
H 266, an act relating to protections for 340B covered entities and 340B contract pharmacies.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have passed the bill. Next is House Bill 463, which is an act relating to technical corrections for the 2025 legislative session. Please listen to the third reading of the bill.
H 463, an act relating to technical corrections for the 2025 legislative session.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have passed the bill. Next, we'll turn to House Bill 125, which is an act relating to reporting on the energy transition. The bill was referred to the Committee on Energy and Digital Infrastructure, which recommends that the bill be amended as printed in today's calendar. The member from Dover, Representative Sibilia, will speak for the committee. Please listen to the second reading of the bill.
H 125, an act relating to reporting on the energy transition.
Member from Dover.
Madam Speaker, Vermont is undergoing a significant energy transition, moving away from fossil fuels and towards renewable and electrified systems. This transition is driven by both state policy commitments and broader economic trends. However, the benefits and burdens of this shift are not evenly distributed across Vermont's communities. Without intentional analysis and oversight, some Vermonters, particularly those in rural, low-income, or energy-burdened households, may struggle to participate in and benefit from this transition and may even be burdened by it. Market forces alone are unlikely to ensure an equitable energy transition. While clean energy investments are accelerating, factors such as upfront costs, infrastructure gaps, and workforce availability can create disparities. Rural and low-income households often face higher energy costs and limited access to clean energy incentives. Similarly, businesses and workers in fossil fuel-dependent industries need clear data and policy planning to help navigate this changing landscape. H 125 ensures that Vermont has a comprehensive, data-driven understanding of how the energy transition is impacting different regions of our state and economic sectors. Importantly, this bill does not require any new appropriations. It does not mandate the hiring of new staff, and it relies solely on existing data from state agencies. The Secretary of Natural Resources, in consultation with key state agencies, will compile and analyze existing energy and economic data. This will help us ensure an understanding of where costs and benefits are concentrating, ensuring that no region is left behind or overburdened, a clear assessment of how energy costs, fuel availability, and workforce changes are affecting Vermonters in different regions of the state. And it will help us ensure that policymakers have the necessary information to make strategic and equitable decisions. As I said, the bill builds upon existing work and aligns with the Climate Office's ongoing mapping and analysis efforts. I will now do a very brief section-by-section analysis, and folks can follow along, members can follow along on page 483 of today's calendar. Section 1, and it's a two-section bill, outlines the reporting requirements of this Energy Transition Impact Report. The report will be due December 15th and will be produced by the Secretary of Natural Resources. That is where the Climate Office exists. The Agency of Natural Resources will consult with these existing collectors of data, the Agency of Agriculture, Food and Markets, the Department of Public Service, the Agency of Transportation, the Department of Labor, the Agency of Commerce and Community Development, and the Department of Taxes. And this report will analyze the following existing data over the past 5 years. Energy costs, how electric rates now and projected, and plus how many customers are on electric vehicle rate plans. Renewable energy, how much solar is installed in each county and active permit applications. Heating fuel, who's selling it, how much Vermonters are using. Weatherization, how many homes have been weatherized, broken down by income and county. Energy jobs, transportation fuels, both gas and diesel sales, plus where the fuel stations are located. Electric vehicle charger installations, where they are and how they compare to our energy goals. Vehicle trends, the mix of gas, hybrid, and electric vehicles on Vermont's roads. Energy use and economic output, which is how much fossil fuel and electricity we're using relative to our economic growth. The section 2 is the effective date, which is upon passage. This report will break down the data regionally with clear visuals when available, identify gaps where more data is needed, review existing reports that track these trends, and assess who benefits and who might be left behind in Vermont's ongoing energy transition. And it will also provide the legislature with recommendations from the administration on how to improve future data collection. We heard from the General Counsel of the Agency of Agriculture, Food and Markets, the Secretary of State, Legislative Counsel, Office of Legislative Counsel, Agriculture Weights and Measures Specialist at the Agency of Agriculture, Food and Markets, the Executive Director of the Energy Action Network, the Director of Business Services from the Secretary of State's Office, the Chair of the PUC, the Secretary of the Agency of Natural Resources, the State Policy Director from the Agency of Transportation, the Director of Regulated Utility Planning at the Department of Public Service, the Deputy Commissioner from the Department of Taxes, and the Manager of the Environmental Policy and Sustainability Agency of Transportation. The House Committee on Energy and Digital Infrastructure voted 5-3-1 in favor of H125, and we ask for your support in advancing this bill, which helps us ensure a fair, informed, and cost-efficient approach to Vermont's energy transition.
The question is, shall the bill be amended as recommended by the Committee on Energy and Digital Infrastructure? Are you ready for the question? Member from Sheldon.
Madam Speaker, all of the information asked for in this bill is already readily available. The PUC, AOT, and ANR all testified that they have the information and do not have the bandwidth to handle the request. Further, much of this information was also identified during the expensive study that accompanied the clean heat standard. That's why I think we should not continue to burn valuable time on this. Thank you.
The question is, shall the bill be amended as recommended by the Committee on Energy and Digital Infrastructure? Are you ready for the question? If so, member from Poultney.
Madam Speaker, in our 11th week of this session, with H16 and the Clean Heat Standard tacked to the Energy and Digital Infrastructure Committee's wall, the committee passes a bill on party lines to, and I quote, require several agencies to publish a report that highlights existing data sources and indicators relevant to the impacts of the changing energy landscape on Vermonters and relevant to understanding the distribution of benefits and burdens by region, end quote. Additionally, the bill wants recommendations for future reporting requirements. In other words, tell us what you think we should be asking for as far as what needs to be reported. Republishing information that is already readily available through our state agencies is not a good use of our agency's time. They have far bigger problems they should be working on, with limited staffing to do the very necessary business of running the Agency of Agriculture, Department of Public Service, Agency of Transportation, Department of Labor, the Agency of Commerce and Community Development, and the Department of Taxes. I will vote no on this bill, and when the vote is taken, I request to be taken by division.
The question is, shall the bill be amended as recommended by the Committee on Energy and Digital Infrastructure? Are you ready for the question? Member from Dover.
Madam Speaker, I wanted to share a comparison that we have seen in Vermont that really led me to thinking about why this bill would be necessary. In Vermont, we have, in Vermont across the country, we have seen the shift from the copper landline phone system, which was a regulated and required system that ensured every Vermonter had access to the ability to call for help. We saw that system throughout our state, every address, throughout our country. And then we had unregulated, innovative broadband cellular systems that came in. And in places where there's a functioning market, where there's competition and a lot of money to be made, there were opportunities for a lot of Vermonters for choice amongst products and how they might like to call for help. There were market protections that helped ensure quality, and there were market forces, really pushing down on costs and affordability for Vermonters. At the same time, in rural Vermont, where I live and most Vermonters live, there is no market. There's a failed market because there's not enough money to be made. And so innovation and choice for telecommunications and how one might call for help was not happening in rural Vermont. And we tried and tried for many, many years. Many governors put forward plans. We're going to connect everyone to the internet. We just couldn't get there. We couldn't get there. And then what we saw in my district, and I know we saw it in the Kingdom and other places, but for me personally, I had a constituent who was relying on that copper landline because there was no cell service, there was no broadband. 40 miles from the nearest hospital, from ambulance service, just had surgery, disabled, home with a disabled son. Phone doesn't work because now that system has become so expensive to operate because so many people in the areas where there's competition have opted out. And they're told it's going to be 10 days before they're going to be able to use their copper landline system to call for help. So that was really a public emergency. And I was really I'm quite proud of the work that we did with this administration after many administrations who were collecting the data on all the companies that were opening up shop and selling plans. We let this situation happen. And I'm quite concerned. In fact, I'm really certain that we are likely to see the same thing happen in rural and poor Vermont with this energy transition. in this largely unregulated area. So this report is asking us for existing data. It's working with the Agency of Natural Resources, and it's pretty simple. It allows us to do our job better, and it asks the administration to really look at all their data to see if there are places in Vermont where people are experiencing right now higher energy costs, and we know there are. We've got a bunch of different utilities with a bunch of different electric rates that are happening. You know, if you've got a few other energy burdens there, you might start having little pockets in Vermont where there's pretty high energy costs. We might want to know about that. So that's what this is about, and I hope folks will support the bill.
The question is, shall the bill be amended as recommended by the Committee on Energy and Digital Infrastructure? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please rise. You may be seated. All those opposed, please rise. You may be seated. Members, we are not getting a correct count, so we are going to do the vote again. So the question is, shall the bill be amended as recommended by the Committee on Energy and Digital Infrastructure? All those in favor, please rise.
Madam Speaker, I call for roll.
Oh, the member from Essex Junction requests that when the vote is taken, it be taken by roll as the member sustained. The member is sustained. When the vote is taken, it will be taken by roll. The question is, will the House please come to order? The question is, shall the bill be amended as recommended by the Committee on Energy and Digital Infrastructure? Are you ready for the question? If so, will the clerk please call the roll?
Arsenault of Williston.
2 minutes. Will the House please come to order? Members kindly take their seats. I would like to remind members that we are in the middle of a roll call vote. Members and guests are prohibited from using computers, phones, or any type of electronic device. Please refrain from the passing of notes and conversation during a roll call. And when the clerk calls your name, please answer in a loud and clear voice so the clerk can accurately record your votes. The question is, shall the bill be amended as recommended by the Committee on Energy and Digital Infrastructure? Will the clerk please continue to call the roll?
Austin of Colchester. Bailey of Hyde Park. Bartholomew of Heartland. Bartley of Fairfax. Rebecca of Winooski. Byrong of Regents. Bishop of Colchester. Black of Essex. Bloomley of Burlington. Boslin of Westminster. Bosham Clarendon. Booton of Berry City. Boyden of Cambridge. Brady of Williston. Brannigan of Georgia. Brown of Richmond. Burdett of West Rutland. Burke of Brattleboro. Burkhardt of South Burlington. Burrows of West Windsor. Burt of Cabot. Campbell of St. Johnsbury. Canfield of Fairhaven. Cares Duncan of Whitingham. Casey of Montpelier. Casey Hubbardton. Chapin of East Montpelier. Charlton of Chester. Christie of Hartford. Chino of Burlington. Coffin of Cavendish. Got Cole of Hartford. Conlon of Cornwall. Cooper of Pownell. Corcoran of Bennington. Cordes of Bristol. Critchlow of Colchester. Tamar of Venusburg. Dickinson of St. Albans Town. Dobervich of Williamstown. Dodge of Essex. Dolan of Essex Junction. Dolgan of St. Johnsbury. Donahue Northfield. Duke of Burlington. Durfee of Shaftesbury. Eastus of Guilford. Emmons of Springfield. Feltus of Linden. Calfetti of Barry Town. Garifano of Essex. Goldman of Rockingham. Goodnow of Brattleboro. Ghostland of Northfield. Granning of Jericho. Greer of Bennington. Greer Bennington. Gregoire of Fairfield. Hango Berkshire. Harpole of Glover. Harrison of Chittenden. Harvey of Castleton. Hedrick of Burlington. Higley of Lowell. Holcomb of Norwich. Hooper of Randolph. Hooper of Burlington. Houghton of Essex Junction. Howard of Rutland City. Howland of Rutland Town. Hunter of Manchester. James of Manchester. Kasenska of Burke. Keyser of Rutland City. Kimball of Woodstock. Klepner of Burlington. Kornheiser of Brattleboro. Krasnow of South Burlington. Labor of Morgan. Lally of Shelburne. Malone of South Burlington. Lamont of Morristown. LaRush of Franklin. Lipsky of Stowe. Logan of Burlington. Long of Newfane. Uno of St. Albans City. McGuire of Rutland City. Malay of Pittsford. Marcotte of Coventry. Maslin of Thetford. McCann of Montpelier. McCoy of Pulteney. McFawn of Barrytown. McGill of Bridport. Mickless of Milton. Mahali of Callis. Minier of South Burlington. Morgan L. of Milton. Morgan M. of Milton. Morris of Springfield. Morrissey of Bennington. Mora of Weston. Rowicki of Putney. Nelson of Derby. Nielsen of Brandon. Niagara of Bennington. North of Ferrisburg. Noyes of Wolcott. Nugent of South Burlington. O'Brien of Tunbridge. Odie of Burlington. Oliver of Sheldon. Olson of Starksboro. Page of Newport City. Parsons of Newberry. Pezzo of Colchester. Pinsonall of Dorset. Pouch of Heinsberg. Powers of Waterford. Priestley of Bradford. Pritchard of Pollitt. Quimby of Linden. Rachelson of Burlington. Sakowitz of Randolph. Shy Middlebury. Sheldon of Middlebury. Sibilia of Dover. Southworth of Walden. Squirrel of Underhill. Steady of Milton. Stevens of Waterbury. Stone of Burlington. Supernaut of Barnard. Sweeney of Shelburne. Taglavia, Corinth. Taylor, Milton. Tomlinson, Winooski. Toof, St. Albans Town. Torrey, Moortown. Walker, Swanton. Waza, Berry City. Waters, Evans of Charlotte. Wells of Brownington. White O, Waitsfield. White of Bethel. Winter of Ludlow. Wood of Waterbury. Yakavoni, Morristown. Burt of Cabot. Christie of Hartford. Sheena of Burlington. Gregoire of Fairfield. Lamont of Morristown. Malay of Pittsford. Nugent of South Burlington. O'Brien of Tunbridge.
For purpose of explanation, member from Berrytown.
Madam Speaker, this bill represents more government waste that our constituents sent us here to curtail.
And member from Manchester.
Madam Speaker, I support H125 because good policy requires good data. At a time when climate and energy policy are clouded by politics, it's more important than ever that we partner with state government to start with the same set of facts.
Members, please listen to the results of your vote. Those voting yes, 84. Those voting no, 59. The ayes have it, and you have amended the bill. Now the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Are you ready for that question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and third reading is ordered. Up next is House Bill 222, which is an act relating to participation in a domestic violence accountability program as a condition of a final relief from abuse order. Member from Williston.
Madam Speaker, I move that we postpone action on H222, an act relating to participation in a domestic violence accountability program as a condition of a final relief from abuse prevention order by one legislative day.
The member from Williston moves that we postpone action on House Bill 222 for one legislative day. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have postponed action on House Bill 222 for one legislative day. Now we'll take up House Bill 231, which is an act relating to technical corrections to fish and wildlife statutes. The bill was referred to the Committee on Environment, which recommends that the bill be amended as printed in today's calendar. The member from Randolph, Representative Sakowicz, will speak for the committee. Please listen to the second reading of the bill.
H 231, an act relating to technical corrections to fish and wildlife statutes.
Will the House please stand in recess for a moment while we find the reporter of the bill? Will the House please come to order? Will the House please come to order? Member from Randolph.
Madam Speaker, H 231, an act relating to technical corrections to fish and wildlife statutes, makes several changes to our fish and wildlife statutes, may be found on page 490 of today's calendar. These technical changes are needed to align statute and Fish and Wildlife Board rules, to update antiquated language, and to address technical issues. Section 1 strikes two definitions in 10 VSA 4001. The definition of pickerel, which is inconsistent with statute, and if retained, could be interpreted to allow taking of protected muskie, and the definition of pike perch, which is no longer used in statute. Section 2 amends the existing ban in 10 VSA 4905 on the willful destruction of nests or birds, except when necessary to protect a building, to clarify that a person cannot remove a nest to protect a building when there are eggs or chicks in the nest. The bill also provides updated names for those birds where nests can be removed at any time. Section 3 makes changes to the uniform point system in 10 VSA 4502. It amends current statute that assigns points against a person's license for fish and wildlife violations as follows. The penalty for snaring animals is changed from a 10-point to a 20-point violation. Some language concerning the reporting of moose is being struck because it's duplicative. Language concerning point violations for violating rules related to possession of a cocked crossbow in a vehicle, vessel, or airplane is struck because those points are assigned elsewhere in statute. The point violation for hunting bear with any dog not listed on a permit has been moved. Some language concerning failure to obey a warden is repealed because it is no longer an accurate cross-reference for this violation. Taking deer out of season is being replaced with taking big game out of season as a 20-point violation because deer are big game. Some language concerning the rules for turkey season are being struck as duplicative. There is a clarification that violation of the deer management rule is a 20-point violation, excluding youth deer hunting weekend violations and novice violations. The assessed points for hunting with a crossbow are struck because it's currently legal as a licensed hunter. And last year, the fur-bearing trapper rules were amended and the sections renumbered. Further amendments in this bill strike the currently inaccurate citations. Section 4 makes changes to 10 VSA 4705 concerning shooting from a vehicle or across a highway. It clarifies that a person shall not carry or possess an air gun or other projectile implement in addition to the already covered rifle and shotgun, provides that a person shall not possess a crossbow in a motor vehicle, vessel, airplane, etc., unless it's uncocked in a vehicle. And it also provides that a person who possesses a rifle, crossbow, or shotgun, including a muzzle-loading rifle or muzzle-loading shotgun, in or on a vehicle propelled by mechanical power or drawn by a vehicle propelled by mechanical power within a right-of-way of a public highway shall, upon demand of an enforcement officer, exhibit the firearm for examination to determine compliance with this section. Section 5 amends 23 VSA 3317B. Current law provides that a violation of the use of waters rule adopted under 10 VSA 1424 shall be subject to enforcement by ANR under its general enforcement authority. This section would allow violations of use of waters rules to be enforced as a civil violation under the Vessels and Water Sports chapter of Title 23. Section 6 amends 4 VSA 1102. The Judicial Bureau is the state court where civil violations are assessed. This section affirms that the Judicial Bureau jurisdiction over violations of use of water rules is adopted under 10 VSA 142. And finally, Section 7 states that the act takes effect on July 1, 2025. The committee heard testimony from Deputy Chief Counsel, Office of Legislative Counsel, Associate General Counsel, Department of Fish and Wildlife, Chief Warden of the Warden Service Division, Department of Fish and Wildlife, and Chief Superior Judge, Vermont Judiciary. The bill passed on a vote of 11-0-0, and your Committee on Environment respectfully requests your support of the bill.
The question is, shall the bill be amended as recommended by the Committee on Environment? Are you ready for the question? Member from Lowell. Members, we're going to take a brief recess to see what's happening with the mics. The House will stand in recess for 2 minutes.
Check.
It's on top mic. It's a hot mic. It's a hot mic. It's on.
Member, can you test the mic?
Test.
Where's he from?
Will the House please come to order? Member from Lowell.
Please.
You may.
Madam Speaker, I'm looking at page 493 of today's calendar, section 4, referring to a person shall not carry or possess while in or on a vehicle, and it talks about a rifle, air gun, shotgun, or other projectile implement. Vermont is a constitutional carry state, and I'm wondering if this wording would negate our constitutional carry where a loaded pistol is required by law.
Thank you, Speaker. Yes, that has just been brought to my attention, and it appears that the language is a bit overly broad and does unintentionally include handguns, and I would suggest that we entertain an amendment for third reading to take care of this problem.
Madam Speaker, would that be the committee amendment?
Yes, presumably.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, also on page 494, referencing a section there, again, talking about shall upon demand of an enforcement officer exhibit the firearm for examination to determine compliance with this section. Again, is this without a warrant? Would a warrant be needed for this? And is this an exclusion for that?
Madam Speaker, if I understand the question correctly, this is an extension of language that's already in statute. We already require that people in vehicles with weapons that are intended for hunting deer, that those weapons remain unloaded, and that we require that law enforcement be able to inspect those weapons to make sure that they already are unloaded.
Madam Speaker, the way that you explained that, again, that would be just for hunting purposes only, though, correct?
Yes, these are considering weapons that are used for hunting purposes.
Right, but again, must be during a hunting season or at any time?
I believe this is any time. The rationale behind this section of statute is to prevent the illegal taking of deer.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The question is, shall the bill be amended as recommended by the Committee on Environment? Are you ready for the question? Member from Newberry.
Interrogate the presenter, please.
Yes, you may. Oh, sorry. The member from Randolph.
I guess my question is, it's less what I see in here and what I don't, and I'm just kind of curious on definitions. How we treat electric bicycles in these type of instances. They're becoming a pretty popular thing. I'm just curious how those are treated in the reference of a motorized implement.
Madam Speaker, I do not know the answer to that question. I could come back at third reading with a response.
Be very much appreciated. Thank you.
The question is, shall the bill be amended as recommended by the Committee on Environment? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have amended the bill. Now the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and third reading is ordered. Next is House Bill 259, which is an act relating to preventing workplace violence in hospitals. The bill was referred to the Committee on Healthcare, which recommends that the bill be amended as printed in today's calendar. The member from Bristol, Rep. Cordes, will report for the committee. Please listen to the second reading of the bill.
H 259, an act relating to preventing workplace violence in hospitals.
The member from Bristol.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Over the past decade, the United States and Vermont have experienced a surge in violence against healthcare workers by patients, family members, visitors, including verbal abuse, intimidation, sexual harassment, physical assault, and assault with body fluids. The Bureau of Labor Statistics documents that healthcare workers have the highest rate of workplace violence. Statistically, they are 5 times more likely to be assaulted than any other occupation. From June 2023 through December 2024, 6 Vermont hospitals reported 89 incidents of workplace violence against healthcare workers. Nurses experience workplace violence at a rate higher than police and correctional officers. In the United States, the annual turnover rate of nurses is estimated to be between 15 and 36% due to workplace violence. Vermont's hospital healthcare workforce has the highest number in the country of days away from work, job restrictions, or transfer due to workplace violence at a rate of 7.8 per 10,000 workers. Recruiting new nursing staff costs approximately $88,000 per nurse. Examples of healthcare workplace violence include the body slamming of a physician by a family member, and a nurse in Florida who was recently critically injured by a patient who broke every bone in her face. A patient's son attacked an OBGYN because he disagreed with the medication the physician had prescribed his mother. House Healthcare has heard testimony that has included the experiences of healthcare workers being punched, slapped, body slammed, kicked, spit on, sexually harassed, sexually assaulted, threatened with death, and stalked. These attacks often lead to traumatic brain injuries, pregnancy loss, PTSD, and the inability of the healthcare worker to continue in their career. Currently in Vermont, there are no requirements for hospitals to develop workforce violence prevention programs. There are also no requirements that frontline workers, those at highest risk of being victimized, be part of planning workplace violence prevention programs. Madam Speaker, may I quote from Vermont Program for Quality in Healthcare?
You may.
Vermont Program for Quality in Healthcare was tasked in Act 24 of 2023 with assessing workplace violence prevention in Vermont hospitals. And I'll quote them: "There is variation among Vermont hospitals in their current workplace violence prevention initiatives, with gaps in training, data collection, and physical site measures." H259 will require uniform standards and requirements for developing workplace violence prevention programs based on evidence and best practices in order to have consistent implementation of best practices to prevent workplace violence and consistent responses and trauma-informed responses to workplace violence victims. It will also provide further guidelines about law enforcement's role and relationship with hospital security staff. H259 will require that each hospital in Vermont develop a security plan, including performing a risk assessment, develop incident reporting plan and processes, develop de-escalation and defensive training plans. These plans must be reviewed annually and include information gathered by the incident reporting process, also required in H259. The plan shall include a policy prohibiting discrimination or retaliating for reporting, participating, or refusing to participate in the investigation or seeking assistance as a victim, and must include training in trauma-informed care to support victims. It also includes an exemption for the Green Mountain Care Board Certificate of Need process for costs associated with workplace violence prevention plan and implementation, and review costs, and a requirement that hospitals include such costs in their annual hospital budget review with the Green Mountain Care Board, and for the Green Mountain Care Board to consider such costs in the hospital budget review. It also directs that AHS work with hospitals to identify incentives and funding sources. H259 is a strike-all amendment. Starting with Section 1, is focusing on developing and implementing the security plan, beginning with establishing a team to provide advice during the development of the plan. And the team must select individuals from healthcare employees, representatives from the designated agency, and representatives of relevant law enforcement agencies. The security plan must be based on the results of a security risk assessment that addresses all high-risk areas, including the emergency department and all direct patient care areas. This risk assessment must be in consultation with medical and nursing directors and those hospital employees supervising other high-risk areas of the hospital. The risk assessment should consider overall patient volume, crime rates, and the availability of law enforcement in each community to respond to violent incidents at the hospital. The security plan shall also include an option for employees who provide direct patient care to request an identification badge containing only their first name or their first name and last initial. The security plan shall require at least one hospital employee trained in de-escalation strategies to be present at all time in the hospital's emergency department and other direct patient care areas. The plan shall require that an employee trained in trauma-informed care and victim support serve as liaison to law enforcement, support victims through the legal process, and ensure that response of incidents of violence prioritize the safety and retention of hospital employees. The plan shall also establish training requirements, including a culture of safety, the response to the presence or use of weapons, defensive tactics, de-escalation techniques, appropriate physical restraint and seclusion, crisis intervention, trauma-informed care and strategies, clinician well-being practices, presence and intervention of law enforcement, and safely addressing situations involving patients, family members, or other individuals who pose a risk of self-harm. It also includes guidelines of when law enforcement should remain with a patient. This hospital security plan, the hospital shall review and evaluate the security plan annually in conjunction with the data collected in section B3, which is requiring that hospitals have an incident reporting tool. This security plan and annual revisions must be distributed annually to all employees, hospital employees, volunteers, board of directors, law enforcement, and any other partners identified by the security plan development team. And now the establishing and utilizing a workplace violence incident reporting system that I mentioned earlier to document, track, and analyze and evaluate incidents of workplace violence. All hospital employees should be notified about the existence and of the reporting system and receive training on how to report incidents. The incident reporting system must track the number of reported incidents and the number of incidents reported to law enforcement. As for the discrimination and retaliation, that would be prohibited under H-259, as I mentioned earlier, for reporting, for seeking assistance, or for participating or refusing to participate in an investigation related to workplace violence. The hospital shall post a notice in a conspicuous location indicating that hospital employees do not tolerate an unsafe work environment and must be clear about the serious legal consequences of assaulting a hospital employee. The Agency of Human Services shall collaborate to identify incentives, including funding sources and other means to support the development and operation of workplace violence. Section 2 and Section 3 have to do with the Green Mountain Care Board, Section 2 excludes expenditures by a hospital from the Certificate of Need hospital that are related to the security plan. Section 3, hospitals must file with their hospital budget review costs associated with implementing their security plan. Section 4, this is about the Green Mountain Care Board, shall take into consideration the costs associated with implementing a security plan in the hospital budget review. Section 5, this act shall take effect on July 1st, 2025. We heard from the VP of Government Relations of Vermont Association of Hospitals and Health Services, members of the Vermont Professional Nursing and Nurse Practitioner Organization Coalition, the Executive Director of Vermont Program for Quality in Healthcare, the QI Specialist, Vermont Program for Quality in Healthcare, the Deputy Director of Health Systems Finance, Green Mountain Care Board, Troop B Commander, Vermont State Police, Department of Public Safety, and Legislative Council. Madam Speaker, your House Healthcare Committee voted favorably on this strike all amendment in a vote of 10-0-1, and we ask for your support.
The question is, shall the bill be amended as recommended by the Committee on Healthcare? Are you ready for the question? Member from Northfield.
Madam Speaker, I can't speak strongly enough about how important I think this bill is, how sadly necessary it is, and how much we need to make progress in this area. However, I do have a couple of concerns more relating to language or clarity on some of the pieces of the bill and perhaps unintended consequences. First of all, going to financial implications, which really goes to what's referenced in Section 2 around budgets and the Green Mountain Care Board. It's certainly important and a positive inclusion of the fact that expenditures should not be a part of the budget assessments and CON requirements for regulation of hospitals. But we need to keep in mind that that does not address or change the fact that this could become an unfunded mandate. All of our hospitals are struggling, or most of them struggling desperately, running at operating losses. And if there's a mandate that requires expenditure, regardless of the fact that it wouldn't cause them trouble with the Green Mountain Care Board, it could still be a burden. This is in particular the concern and the question I'll have around the reference to capital investments. And so I'd like to interrogate the member from Bristol about some narrow aspects about that.
You may. Member from Bristol is interrogated.
Madam Speaker, I'm wondering if there was discussion or testimony about the potential for having requirements, because this is a shall directive, there being any requirements that would require capital investments.
Madam Speaker, no, there wasn't specifically to that item, and I will say that the Vermont Association for Hospitals and Health Systems and everyone who testified as witnesses were in full support of this bill. Also, that many hospitals, not all have a standardized security plan, have some sort of incident reporting and security plan already in place.
Madam Speaker, was there any testimony on any estimates of costs that would be required to comply with parts of the plan that might include the need to hire staff or to do construction projects?
No, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Member Speaker. Thank you to the member. I will have another question, but I want to comment on this area. And that is just to note that in terms of the exemption from the CON process, under a bill we just passed, the CON threshold is increased to $10 million. The prior threshold, I think, was $3 million. And so this is the language here, and the exemption suggests that we think there may be a requirement in the bill for that level investment. I can't imagine that being needed, but I just think that we might want to take caution about including language regarding capital investments, and particularly the CON exclusion, in the sense that it really does imply that we think that that could be a part of the impact of this bill. So that is a concern, and there may be a way to address that before third reading. Madam Speaker, my second concern has to do with part of the content of the bill around the security plan. And I go to two sections. First of all, on page 496, 4B, requirements of the plan, and the third clause that says that in response to incidents of violence, the hospital has to prioritize the safety and retention of hospital employees. Obviously, that is a really, really important aspect. But in terms of unintended consequences, I want to remind the body that last session, we passed a bill, the first sort of major effort to address violence, and it had to do with making it clear that law enforcement could remove a person, could charge a crime and remove a person who created that threat, as opposed to simply issuing them a violation to respond to later. That bill, which came out of the Judiciary Committee, included really significant balancing and looking at the importance of safety, but also the requirement that we have attention to civil rights of patients, and that be balanced. And so I am concerned that saying that it shall prioritize could actually require a plan to include steps, include a process that would violate what our intent was in the way we structured the legal aspects last session. And in particular, I noted that the list of witnesses did not include any witnesses who were patient advocates or who were civil liberty experts who testified extensively in the Judiciary Committee in 2023. So I think that's a really serious concern in how this bill interacts and may create unintended consequences. Finally, as part of that, Madam Speaker, on page 497, subsection 6, this part of the bill cross-references existing law, identifying what it means that the patient has demonstrated violence or harmed others. I think that's an incredibly appropriate concept that the guidelines should include when a law enforcement officer should be asked to stay with the patient because they've demonstrated violence or harm. But Madam Speaker, when I checked the cross-reference, that piece of statute actually does not at all define or discuss violence or harm. The only thing that section of law addresses is when information is permitted to be disclosed to law enforcement because law enforcement is reviewing an alleged crime. Madam Speaker, an alleged crime can cover a very, very broad array. It does not discuss specific to violence or harm to others. And I think that this is a technical gap or not a correct cross-citation for identifying the intention behind saying remain with a patient who has demonstrated violence or harm, and then citing something that actually doesn't discuss violence or harm at all. In other words, being pursuant to doesn't really make sense. Again, that may be something more technical that could be addressed before third reading. And I just want to inquire of the member from Bristol, Madam Speaker.
The member from Bristol is interrogated.
Madam Speaker, I'm just wondering about clarification regarding that cross-citation. And did the committee take testimony or evaluate whether or why that was the citation to use when saying pursuant to it in terms of demonstrated violence or harm?
No, we did not, Madam Speaker.
I thank the member. Madam Speaker, I do want to see this bill move forward. I will vote for it today, but I would hope and I would certainly be very willing to help consult or brainstorm. I would hope that there would be some amendments offered tomorrow to clarify some things that, again, might produce unintended consequences. And I will await that for deciding on third reading the overall balance of the bill. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The question is, shall the bill be amended as recommended by the Committee on Health Care? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have amended the bill. Now the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Are you ready for that question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and third reading is ordered. And members, the final bill on our action calendar today is House Bill 396, which is an act relating to the creation of the Molly Beatty Distinguished Service Award. The bill is referred to the Committee on Agriculture, Food Resiliency, and Forestry, which recommends that the bill ought to pass. The member from Stowe, Representative Lipsky, will speak for the committee. Please listen to the second reading of the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Please listen to the second reading of the bill.
H 396, an act relating to the creation of the Molly Beatty Distinguished Service Award.
And now member from Stowe.
Apologies. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Molly Beatty was a pioneering leader in conservation whose dedication to protecting the environment left a lasting impact on Vermont and the nation. As the first woman to lead both the Vermont Department of Forest Parks and Recreation and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, she broke barriers and set powerful example for future generations of environmental leaders. Beatty's conservation philosophy emphasized land and wildlife management in ecosystem terms. By focusing on ecosystems rather than individual species, she championed biodiversity and underscored the interconnectedness of wildlife, habitat health, and human beings. Her legacy reflects the power of thoughtful, science-based conservation leadership with long-term benefits for both nature and society. From 1985 to 1989, Beatty served as the commissioner of the Vermont Department of Forest Parks and Recreation, followed by her role as deputy secretary of the Agency of Natural Resources from 1989 to 1990. She later co-authored Working with Your Woodlot, a Landowner's Guide, providing practical guidance for responsible forest management. In 1993, Beatty was appointed director of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, where she oversaw the reintroduction of the gray wolf into the American West, the creation of 15 new wildlife refuges, and the implementation of over 100 habitat conservation plans. In recognition of her contributions, Congress designated an 8 million acre wilderness area in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge in her honor. Molly Beatty's life was defined by a deep commitment to protecting the natural world. She not only broke barriers, but also reshaped the approach to environmental stewardship, advocating for conservation strategies that integrate science, policy, and public engagement. Her leadership set a standard for future conservationists and reinforced the essential role of public lands in sustaining ecosystems and communities. To honor her legacy and in recognition of the centennial of the Vermont State Parks, this bill establishes the Molly Beatty Distinguished Service Award. The Commissioner of Forest Parks and Recreation shall present this award to a state employee, a retiree, or partner whose contributions uphold Beatty's legacy by advancing conservation, public land accessibility, the quality of recreational experiences, or the sustainability of Vermont's public lands. This award will celebrate individuals who embody the spirit of service and dedication that define Molly Beatty's career, ensuring that her influence continues to inspire those who care for Vermont's natural resources. Madam Speaker, the committee heard testimony from the following witnesses: Legislative Counsel, Office of Legislative Counsel, Commissioner, Department of Forest Parks and Recreation, former Representative, Washington 3. And finally, Madam Speaker, the committee supported this bill by a vote of 5-0-3 and requests the body's support.
The question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and third reading is ordered. Members, that completes the orders of the day. Are there any announcements? Member from Bridport.
Madam Speaker, today I have two very special guests here with us today up in the balcony, Nova and Bruce. Nova and Bruce both grew up here in Vermont, and they lost their housing to a no-cause eviction when their landlord decided to sell the home that they were living in. Bruce is a veteran and lives with disabilities from his time in service. He also currently has lung cancer. Nova is a working Vermonter, and Bruce worked his whole life until he couldn't anymore. They've applied for every available housing opportunity, but have not found anywhere to live. If nothing changes, they will live outside beginning April 1st for the first time in their lives. Nova and Bruce will be around the building today, and I encourage members to say hi. But in the meantime, I invite all the members to join me in welcoming them to the People's House, thanking Bruce for his selfless service to our country, and in recognizing both Nova and Bruce for their courage.
Will the guest of the member from Bridport please rise and be recognized? Are there any further announcements? Member from Berry City.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today, also up in the balcony, we have Donna, who, like myself, celebrated a birthday last week, though she turned 60 and has managed to hold on to significantly more hair than I have. She and her husband lost their housing when her landlord had to be moved to an assisted living facility, and the house was then sold. They've been looking for housing diligently and have been unable to find any other place to live. Donna is living with disabilities and has had 7 spinal surgeries and has severe COPD. She was a restaurant and bar manager, and some of our more tenured members may remember her time working at J. Morgan's Steakhouse. And she worked her whole life and broke her back while at work. Her husband, Richard, also lives with disabilities, and it took him 9 years to get access to Social Security benefits. Similarly, as the guest from Bridport, if nothing changes, both Donna and Richard will be sent to sleep outside on April 1st. Donna has faced adversity with such resolve and strength and deserves to be commended, and I'd ask that you welcome them to the People's House.
Will the guest and member from Berry City please rise and be recognized? Are there any further announcements? Member from Colchester.
Madam Speaker, I have 2 guests today in the chamber, Kaylee and her 3-month-old child, Zayante. They live in Colchester, and I first met Kaylee last month when I visited her at the motel that she and her family currently call home. I'm pleased that Kaylee is with us today, as I greatly admire her strength. Kaylee grew up in Vermont, but when her mother, with whom she was living, was evicted, she was forced into homelessness. While working full-time and at the end of her pregnancy, she reached her 80-day limit in the state's motel voucher system. She was exited from this system. Kaylee and her baby had her baby in Zayante in mid-December. Under the winter rules, she was able to regain housing through the motel voucher system temporarily. She has never lived outside, and she's been applying and working very hard to identify any apartment that she and her family might live in. On April 1st, Kaylee and her 3-month-old baby will have no options left. They'll be faced with living outside under the upcoming expiration of the winter rules. Kaylee is a new mom and in one of the scariest circumstances. As I shared, I greatly admire the strength that she has shown. She will be at the State House today, and I encourage you to say hello and meet her and her young child, Zayante. Madam Speaker, will you help me welcome Kaylee and Zayante, whose attention we may have lost somewhere in second reading, to the chamber.
Will the guest and member from Colchester please rise and be recognized? Are there any further announcements? Member from Glover.
Madam Speaker, today we have with us a Dorian, who is a single mother living with disabilities. She and her 3-year-old son turned to living in a hotel after they lost their housing to an informal eviction after experiencing domestic and family violence. Dorian has 9 years of good rental history, but the moment she discloses she has disability, no one wants to rent to her. She doesn't want to stay long-term in the hotel. She is doing everything she can to find housing. There is just nowhere for her to go. She wants her and her child in a safe home with friends and with autism services so that he has a better foot forward. She has faced what most of us in this room cannot imagine, and I invite you all to join me in commending her for her bravery and welcoming her to the People's House.
Will the guest and member from Glover please rise and be recognized? Are there any further announcements? Member from Burlington.
Madam Speaker, I'm honored to introduce a special guest today. Jessica lost her home in a flood, like so many other Vermonters, followed shortly after by the need to spend 6 months in a facility receiving treatment for a disability. Jessica lives with a rare autoimmune disorder and disabilities. She's applied for every available apartment, finding that waiting lists for affordable housing are extremely long and rents for available units are way outside of her budget. The motel program gives Jessica hope that she'll be able to safely weather this period of personal crisis. She has no family in Vermont and nowhere else to go. Jessica will lose her access to shelter in early April if we do nothing. Let us welcome Jessica and applaud her for facing her challenges with the same courage that we see in our fellow Vermonters every day.
Will the guest of the member from Burlington please rise and be recognized? Are there any further announcements? Seeing none, member from Essex Junction.
Madam Speaker, House Dems will caucus 10 minutes after adjournment in room 11.
Member from Poultney.
House Republicans will not be caucusing this morning.
Member from Burlington.
Madam Speaker, House Progressives will be caucusing in room 44 at the lunch hour, and we will be joined by guests from, oh my goodness, Transportation for Vermonters. Thank you.
Are there any further announcements? Seeing none, member from Poultney, can you please offer us a motion to adjourn until Wednesday, March 19th at 1 p.m.?
Madam Speaker, I make a motion this body stand in adjournment until Wednesday, March 19th, 2025 at 1 p.m.
You have heard the motion. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and this body stands in adjournment until tomorrow at 1 p.m.